What are we up to?
We're safe in Joe Biden's America. It's my once favorite place to immerse myself in Dana's reading list.
God damn it. Is this going to be another crime and homelessness thing?
Has transformed into rowdy drug and hookup dens. Across the country, the ladies who tell you to shush have witnessed everything from public sex, people shooting up, and even assault.
Wow, what a remarkable coincidence. Fox News going after one of the very few remaining public services that are completely free to use and access, that provide resources to people no matter how poor you are, and are like basically accessible to everyone. That's what a remarkable coincidence, you know? It's parks, it's libraries, coincidentally, it's just every public service that exists. The only way to make society safe is to privatize everything.
It's so bad in San Francisco, librarians are now demanding security guards be stationed at every branch. One poor woman found herself standing between a half-dressed man wielding a sharp letter opener and a group of preschoolers.
Yeah, okay, sure. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So, you know, look, okay, society exists. Sometimes there are problems. If you need to hire a security guard, hire a security guard. Sure. Okay. Okay.
Now, Fox News is getting dunked on for that segment. And look, to be sure, starting that segment with libraries are no longer safe in Joe Biden's America is a bit of an issue because it's local laws that typically have an impact on public libraries and the conditions within or around the libraries. So that's one thing to keep in mind. They're taking a story and they're obviously using it as a political tool against their political opponent. So I get why people would see that and immediately.
Cenk is a fan of RFK now because Biden is bad on Israel, yeah. Isn't RFK like a hyper-Zionist? What does that mean? Isn't RFK like crazy super Zionist? So Cenk thinks that Biden isn't hard enough for Israel? Okay, I don't know. One thing at a time. I don't know.
You have a knee-jerk reaction in wanting to dunk on them if you happen to be a Democrat. However, I think that there's actually a point here, and it's not something that we should make a blanket statement about in regard to all libraries throughout the country, obviously, but there are some instances of libraries that have run into all sorts of really serious problems, which has even led to closures, and I have a problem with that. So
I mean, the underlying problem here, obviously, is that like local districts, cities, counties, whatever, do a terrible job dealing with homeless people, right? Like we have empirical, factual, like completely bulletproof evidence that housing first homelessness policies like are not only helpful in dealing with the homelessness epidemic, but also like save money in the long run, you know? Also, yeah, exactly. Libraries are facing record budget cuts as well. So same with so many public services. Like we know the solutions to this, and I can't even say it's necessarily the right wing because at a local level, liberals are terrible when it comes to homelessness and stuff like that. I would say it's more like right-wing policies than it is the right-wing like Republicans, you know? But yeah, I mean, we know what these problems are caused by. Every local library I've ever been to smelled like old person. Well, in fairness, you know, there are a lot of old people there. But like, yeah, they're underfunded, you know? A lot of libraries are barely given any money to run. Libraries are literally like one of the pillars of modern civilization. The idea that information should be free to access for everyone is one of the like was one of the like pivotal changes in how we think of civil society as compared to how we thought about it back in the like aristocratic days, you know? It's a massive, massive difference. And a lot of people just don't value that because they think the internet will give them everything. Which, I mean, the internet does give you a lot of useful stuff, but the library has so much, and it could have even more.
I'll get to those details in a moment, but first, how was Fox treated, or what kind of commentary were they met with? I'll give you a few examples from.
Well, so is that really like the narrative that we're opening this with? Like, why would you? Fox News isn't right about this because for the 50 trillionth time, identifying a problem is not being right about something. You have to identify the solution too, okay? Everyone would agree that libraries being full of antisocial malcontents, homeless, vagrants, bums, whatever, like that there is an issue there. What does Fox News want to do about it? They want to throw them all into a wood chipper, you know? That is not like sufficient. That's not them being right. This whole narrative is going to be like, these irresponsible Twitter lefties don't understand actually that these are real issues. If they didn't think they were real issues, then why don't those Twitter lefties not advocate for like dealing with homelessness, you know?
social media. One person writes, I have not been offered drugs or sex in 12 years of library work, and I demand this injustice rectified. Another person says, yes, libraries, notorious nowadays for their debauchery and raucous ragers. Just remember to keep the noise down while engaging in all the sex and drugs at your local library. Now, again,
are these are these the best example? Wouldn't it have been better to find the tweets that definitely do exist, just by like rule of numbers, to find the tweets that are like, there's no problem with homeless people washing their balls in the sink of a library, and if you think there's something wrong with that, then you're a fascist. Like, there's definitely a 14-year-old who tweeted that. Why not find something like that? Like, why these, you know?
From first glance, and if you happen to live in an area where libraries are perfectly fine, you're gonna see the segment, you're gonna think it's crazy. But there are definitely examples of libraries who have this issue of, yes, public sex, of open drug use, of people who are suffering from severe mental health issues who lash out in a violent way.
Because Anna's a conservative now. I know, but like it's tedious, you know? And it would make her argument better if she found lefties being, you know, more irrational and dogmatic and delusional. Like, again, everybody agrees homelessness is an issue. This is like a universally acknowledged problem. It's just the right wants to throw them into wood chippers, and the left wants to support the social services that are necessary to give them what they need to become like healthy, happy, functioning members of society. That's it. Like, that's the difference. Nobody looks at homeless people and thinks, oh, that's fine and normal. Everyone agrees it's a problem.
Way and endanger other people around them. That is a problem that some libraries in some states are experiencing. And I do think it's a serious problem because this is a public service that is funded by American taxpayers, you know, through local taxes and things like that. And I relied on libraries a lot when I was a kid. You know, we couldn't afford a computer, so my mom would drop me off at the library, and thankfully I had that resource in order to be able to do my schoolwork. And so if this is an issue, it should be addressed. I just hate that it's being used as a political tool by Fox News. And I honestly—
Then why are you choosing this framing? Okay.
Also hate that on the left end of the political spectrum, Cenk, you have a lot of people who are kind of tone deaf and disconnected from people who aren't wealthy, who don't have high incomes and don't have the same resources that they might have.
That's so true, yep. People who aren't taking a Fox News level of like callousness towards the homeless are doing so because they're too wealthy to live in the mire that is the San Francisco metropolitan area. Really? This is a completely incoherent narrative, okay? Like, come on, like Jesus.
Or had when they were growing up. And so they don't understand how serious this issue is for some people in the country.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news parties and libraries. So don't overhype.
Are there any more examples that are being provided here,
like
or
shape in a bad place with the severity that they deserve? This is
required to effectively work with people experiencing—
here we go. Here we have some like information being provided.
And low morale. Overall,
no, they never show a single example. What a crazy— wow, that's crazy, Benjamin. Not a single example, just vaguely referring to a big social issue without any evidence, you know? Don't get me wrong. I believe the issue exists. I just think it's, you know, important to substantiate it to some degree if you're going to make claims about, like, what claim is even being made here? Because I know that Anna doesn't support progressive policies when it comes to homelessness, because if she did, she wouldn't be like that. You know, so like, what's the solution here? Are we going the wood chipper route? Like, what are we advocating for? What do we want done? My guess is that the narrative here, based on what I know of these two, is that the reason why people are doing drugs in these libraries is because like local DAs aren't prosecuting people enough, or people aren't getting sentences for long enough, or the jails are a revolving door or whatever else, or something like that.
Found that morale within Oakland's libraries is low. Many staffers feel more unsafe than before, unsupported by upper management, and lack the training required to effectively work with people experiencing mental health and other crises. Some also reported experiencing verbal attacks based on their racial, sexual, or gender identity. Then you have—
okay, so maybe we should fund the libraries more. And I'm not against them having security either. I think that's fine. I don't have an issue with there being like a security guard at a library, you know, a big like city library, I'm sure.
Contra Costa County Library. The spokesperson also told News Nation, we are seeing an uptick in incidents at all of our libraries, and it's a trend happening all across the country. I don't know how widespread it is across the country. I can speak to the libraries in major cities in California, though. There were threats to staff and library property. There was damage to staff and library property multiple times, including things being set on fire.
Classic.
Librarians say that they are experiencing things like verbal abuse, racy situations, that's probably the public sex, dangerous confrontations, and people suffering from mental health episodes. In February, the Antioch.
Yeah, I agree that this is an issue. I agree. So what do we?
Community Library in Antioch, California, had to close due to crime and the workers feeling unsafe. The county said the closure was linked to repeated dangerous incidents. Some of the concerns include a couple openly having sex in the library hallway and bathroom, police apprehending a wanted suspect using a computer in the teen section, drug use in the library vicinity, car break-ins, and patrons verbally assaulting staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So look, this is an important.
So hold on. Car break-ins happen everywhere. I don't know if that's necessarily like an in the library thing. Drug use in the library vicinity? Okay. A wanted suspect came in using a computer, but did they do anything? Because it just says they used the computer, and a couple was openly having sex in the library hallway. So pardon me for being a yum-yucker here, but if you catch a couple openly having sex in the library hallway and bathroom, well, I guess at least in the hallway, you can just have them arrested. You know, you can, so that's the nice thing about, that's the nice thing about a library having a guard too. Guys, guess who guards the library? Not private security, a cop. It's a public facility. Like you don't need, it's not just like some you know, impotent private security team or whatever. You can just have a cop stationed there. My apologies, is that not normal? Okay, I'm biased here because in Beverly Hills, the library was the same building as the police station and the fire department. Beverly Hills isn't that big of a city. Town hall, the public library, the police department, and the fire department were all the same building. They were all located at City Hall. So there were cops just always in the area. Of course, it was the Beverly Hills Library, so it was fine anyway. I know that's not normal, but for other libraries that aren't part of the like one municipal building of your local city, is there not ever a cop there? I don't know. No? Okay, well, I think I'm okay with that. If you're having security issues, city can hire security that isn't cops. Yeah, but why would you? The cop is already the city's security team. Why would you contract that? You know? It's not like these cops are doing anything. Cheaper, is it? Contracted security teams are extremely expensive. Really, Tempest? Huh.
Break-ins and patrons verbally assaulting staff.
Yeah. So look, this is an important debate about what to do with public spaces when we have folks that live among us who have problems controlling themselves, right? This is a normal.
I don't really think you can summarize an epidemic of antisocial behavior, crime, poverty, and homelessness as people who have trouble controlling themselves. But I guess that could just be kind of like a light euphemism.
Problem that humanity has, and we all have to deal with it without demagoguing. Unfortunately, the extreme right thinks that there's orgies in the libraries and get panic their audience about it, and the extreme left says no, there is no problem, and they should be able to do whatever they want. I don't know why the extreme left became.
Yeah, always with the centrist approach. You know, on one hand, you have the right, Fox News, a multi-billion-dollar media conglomerate, fear-mongering about it and politicizing it. And on the other hand, we found 2 Twitter screenshots of the left making light of the idea that like libraries are all orgies now. And they were making fun of the Fox News segment too, not even the general concept of like homelessness being an issue, which lefty people almost always believe. Just, people on both sides being crazy. Giant media conglomerate on one side and Twitter posts on the other, It's crazy, huh?
became libertarians.
Who do you think is paying them to move right? Because this isn't a natural movement; it's clearly artificial. I think I agree. I do think that they're getting like there's a financial incentive to this. I don't know. I can't really speculate, right? Like I have no idea, you know. But it's like it's pretty crazy. Like the TYT of 2 years ago would have torn into the TYT of today, like lacerated them, you know. Would have torn, made fun of them, like just so yeah. The difference is huge. Maybe 3 years ago, I guess. Maybe 3 years ago. I don't know. Yeah, I agree, the Pink Goblin. Libraries should, you know, we need to deal with this epidemic of crime and homelessness and vagrancy and what have you, and libraries should be properly funded and secured. I agree. I am all for the use of taxpayer money on that sort of thing. I'm not denying the existence of an issue, though I do think it's often overstated, you know, for political points. You know, I think that librarians should be kept safe and should feel comfortable in their job and so on, you know. But keep in mind, the people who are most likely to draw attention to this issue don't actually have solutions to it. They just want to draw attention to it to serve other political goals of theirs.
Right? But they say no rules should apply. They should be able to do whatever they want.
I don't think, who's saying this? You found 2 Twitter posts from lefties and neither of them said this. Who's saying this?
In public, that's insane.
Yeah.
So
no
when order broke down in New York City in the 1980s and 90s,
literally just completely made up, like fantasized, you know, like hallucinating. His source is that it came to him in a dream. You can find anyone saying anything on Twitter, and they couldn't even find that, you know. Like I'm sure they could have found it if they looked for it, but like, does anything even remotely compare to Fox News on the other side? Like Jesus Christ.
I already experienced this because I lived in that area. When I went to school in New York, I remember my parents dropping me off and a guy being completely naked in front of my apartment, and I was uncomfortable because my parents saw that, etc. And I lived in a part of New York that was falling apart at the seams, right? And here we are right back in the same exact situation now today in LA.
We are, oh my God, we are not in Los Angeles today in a situation comparable to New York in the 1980s. We are not. Okay. Now, not even remotely close.
So I'm driving to my parents' house. I'm with the kids in the car, and there's a guy who's naked and doing God knows what with his genitalia, right? Mm-hmm. And so the answer there isn't to panic. And
okay. What is the answer?
Beat the guy up or do whatever, right? Some extreme thing that the right wing wants. The answer also isn't, hey, you know what? The mentally ill and the addicted should be able to have public sex, and we don't care about your kids or your parents.
That's so true. That's what the left is always saying. The left is always making light of homelessness and all the problems associated with like crime and that's so true. What the left will often say is we shouldn't be arresting people and ruining their lives for doing stuff that is a consequence of homelessness, which is a social problem, not an individual failing. This is a complete misrepresentation of the argument from the left, okay? The idea that it's okay to have sex in public and homeless people public is a natural consequence of them being homeless. Homelessness is a social failing. We should address the social failing rather than continuing the cycle by arresting them. Those are 2 different arguments because one of them makes light of the underlying issue and the other one doesn't. The other one, it doesn't necessarily address the issue, but at least acknowledges it. You know, I've never seen anyone like defend public as like a, like this is fine and normal. I've never seen that, you know? Like it's more just like, you know, the cop shouldn't beat you to death or something. I mean, you can find any take on Twitter if you want, I guess. Is this the feet kink discourse again? I don't think people should be in the hallways of a library. That seems a little bit uncouth, you know, that seems a little bit bad, I think, personally, in my opinion. I don't think people should do that, you know. MFer said uncouth. Yeah, I did. No,
neither extreme is right.
And what's right?
The question is, what do we do? And
what do we do? There are policies we could take that would help, but they're left-leaning policies, and you can't keep doing the centrist grift if you say it. I bet he's not going to say what we should do.
I think the answer is get people help.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Go on.
But if they say, no, I want my freedom, and they don't want the help.
I don't know if help and freedom are necessarily mutually exclusive. They can have their freedom and get help. Like, usually compulsory what is that? What is it? Wait. By help, did he mean jail? What did he mean? The most effective programs for rehabilitation are, you know, to some extent, like voluntary because people have to want to improve. Also, when it comes to stuff like homelessness, like that's not really a wanting to improve thing. They just need a home. What do we mean by help exactly? I mean, I agree that there are some people who probably should be put in an asylum. Like, there are some people who are so mentally lost, or they need help so badly, that they should be put there, but I don't think that's common. I don't think that's like... I don't think that's the norm for most homeless people.
There has to
I don't think that that's the right approach to say #freedom.
What this is incoherent. What?
Don't think that that's no, I want my freedom, and they don't want the help.
There has to
I don't think that that's the right approach to say #freedom.
But it's incoherent. It's incoherent. I have no idea. The carbon monoxide levels.
That sounds like right winger talk. No, if
#freedom, right?
Someone is incapacitated, mentally incapacitated, we have to get involuntarily take them in to help them because they're going to die in the streets. That's
with some people, sure. I don't think that's like if people are just homeless, I mean, like the institution should be a very last resort. You know? Like a very, very, very last resort. This is like moral panic shit. Yeah, it is. It has been for a while with like anything involving homelessness, poverty, crime, or whatever with TYT and Anna specifically. Yeah. I don't think most people need to be institutionalized. I think like a majority of homeless people either just need a leg up or they need some kind of assisted housing. Like, I think that a lot of homeless people in Los Angeles, where I grew up, could benefit from like, so the city builds or seizes like some like apartments or like shared living areas or whatever. Not shared as in like multiple people to a dorm or whatever, but shared like a big apartment or whatever. And they get like a little place in a PO box and stuff, and the city like checks in and helps them with some basic stuff, you know, something like that. Or maybe there should be a cafeteria. That'd be kind of nice, huh? One of the biggest problems that homeless people face is not just like getting food, but it's also like managing food, because it actually takes a lot of like mental it takes a lot of mental presence to consistently acquire and maintain food and get the right food and everything. Like, not just with the cost, but like making sure you plan out what expires when and having too much of this or too little of that. Like, that can all be pretty difficult. So just having a cafeteria in an apartment block where you have like, you know, a lunch lady down at the bottom, it's like, yeah, you know, mashed potatoes and here's some pork and blah, 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 you know, what, like whatever, right? It wouldn't be that expensive to do that. It could probably help a lot. Just have it run the whole day, you know? Do you have any idea how much the average homeless person would be like mentally improved from having a little room with a bed of their own, where they could get up from the bed and go take an elevator to the first floor and go to a cafeteria and get like a plate with some mashed potatoes and stuff and have the food and then go back up to the bed and just lay in it? Like, this would be like an incalculable improvement to their mental well-being. That would be like the grounding. You know, most people don't understand how much their functionality on a day-to-day level is based on the stability of the life that they live. If you start taking stuff like that away from people, people go kind of crazy pretty quick. And we know this. Like, this isn't like made up or conjecture. Like, we know that, okay? The way humans act right now, today, right now, is not the normal, natural way humans act, right? Like, we have a civil society. We have a stable world, at least for us, not for all people, you know? A lot of the stuff that we enjoy and take for granted is a product of that stability. We stand on solid ground. But if you don't, you know, a lot of those things can kind of fall apart, especially over time. You know? Like, think of how much your mood gets fucked up by something as minor as like water in your shoe or an uncomfortably like underwear bunching up in your pants, like just tiny minor shit, and that can already set you off. Can you imagine all of the myriad inconveniences and pains and suffering and everything of homelessness? Do you know what that would do to your mind? Like, yeah, it's so, yeah, just housing first homelessness initiatives would do so much. They do so much. We know they work. It's fact. It's data.
That's what it leads to. You're not helping them by giving them freedom to run around and do extreme things in public.
Yeah, and it's also not fair to people living in that community who help fund these public spaces and are unable to use said public spaces because of the government's unwillingness and inability to, appropriately respond to people in, experiencing these crises, period. And yeah, I'm not having a conversation about public sex, okay? Like, come on.
Okay, I don't think anyone was prompting it. I don't think it was being prompted. But thank you for clarifying. It was the end of the segment anyway. Is public sex an issue? I mean, you shouldn't do that in public, I don't think. Like, it's probably kind of bad to do. I don't know. You probably shouldn't. No sandals either, true. What about public kissing? You can kiss in public. You're allowed. I do public sex in private like a responsible adult. Yes, exactly, okay? I mean, like, how often does public sex happen in the US? It depends on the area that you're in. In order for public sex to be a real issue, you need, like, an intersection of two factors. One of them is a relatively low police presence, because they'll get you. And the other one is enough housing density that you can't find a quiet space, or like enough like urban density that you can't find a quiet space, right? You need poverty, low police presence, an inability to find a quiet space to whatever else. Homelessness epidemic, people just not giving a like there's a lot of stuff that like, sort of like forms together to create that. I mean, I don't think I've ever No, I think I drove by a couple having sex at a bus station once. They probably aren't mentally well, I don't know. Like, look, okay, here's my take. You shouldn't have sex in public, but if you drive by a bus station and you see two people wearing like raggedy, filthy clothing having sex, I'm willing to bet those people need help more than the random people driving by for having seen them. That's my take, Like, you briefly saw some whack-ass public sex, okay, and that's bad, but they're in a position in their life where they're doing that, not even to speak of how gross it is, but also risking, like, years in jail. Like, they need help, Like, they need help, So, yeah, I like, that's my take, right? I think that, like a lot of other stuff related to crime, we should see this as a symptom that can be treated sociologically rather than just aberrant individual behavior. Such a brave take. Thank you.